I was just telling Lindsay that I just drank like a massive Frappuccino and I'm wired right now. What about you?
Oh God, coffee is like, I drink 2 cups in the morning just to get going. Don't talk to me until those cups are gone.
Yeah.
And then probably grab one on the way to work.
Yeah.
Get to work, have another one. It's a sickness.
Because you have a really busy life, like your home life. You have 3 boys?
3 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old are they?
17, going to be 17, 15, and will be 13.
Holy smokes. Those ages. My son, he just turned 15 and I love you, Ryder. But some days it's like, oh my God, I want to like from behind him. I'm like,
Boys are interesting.
do they all get along?
They do. They get
Okay.
along really good now, more than like when they were littler.
Okay.
They all play sports, and they're all playing football right now. And
Oh, wow. How do you manage those schedules?
it's crazy. So my middle child has his opening day game tonight.
Okay.
My oldest, who's varsity at St. Anthony's Catholic School in Long Beach, has his opening game on Friday.
Oh, wow.
And then my little guy, his game doesn't start till September. But yeah, so it's like every Friday from here until November, they're shot because it's varsity.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. And they've been doing that for how long?
So my Landon's been playing. That's my oldest since a freshman, and then Aiden, my middle son, he's been playing since 8th grade.
Okay.
And then my youngest, this is his first year. He's been a baseball player, travel baseball player up until this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so your husband, he helps with everything as
he's
well?
great.
Because, yeah, there's no way you could be doing this all on your own.
God, no.
Yeah.
Anthony, I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. So, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but like my son, he doesn't mind if I say this. He's experimented with things, you know, with me being in recovery, and so we have a very like open, honest conversation, and he's experiments, you know, they got those weed pens now, and it's so scary. And I'm sure you can relate as a mother, with fentanyl now being in everything. Like literally, I was talking to somebody last night who lost their son who smoked a joint and he died because there was fentanyl in it. And this kid was 13 years old. And I'm going like, I have these conversations with my son, and it's so terrifying now, the way the world is with this massive global epidemic, this weapon of mass destruction, I like to call it.
Truly.
That's what's happening, you know, to our kids. It's not just our kids, it's happening to everybody, all walks of life, but our kids, it's just so terrifying. I mean, do you have that conversation with them?
Absolutely. I mean, they know that I'm in recovery, that I'm sober. They've been walking this road with me. And so, yeah, I have open and honest conversations with them about it. I mean, it's been different as the years have gone on, what that conversation has looked like and like the language that I use. But now that they're teenagers, you know, my 2 oldest have experimented. They've been caught. And, you know, it's just like, obviously my initial is to like lock it down, you know? But it's like, it's all over their schools. It's just so prevalent and in their faces. More so than when I was in college, high school. So yeah, we just talk, and I warn them about fentanyl, and I tell them that, look, you don't know what's in the stuff. It's just not worth it these days to like, I just want to try it. Yeah. You know? And they're both like, they did whatever they did for a very short amount of time. Yeah. I'm beyond grateful to God that was their experience up until this point, and it was very short-lived. And they're, you know, focused on their sports.
Thank God that they're focused on that. Yeah. Because it's like the days of going out and using recreationally, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm just going to try something. If that had been around when we were using, like, we'd be dead.
Oh, 100%.
Like all our people right now would be dead. I mean, what are your thoughts on that with this whole epidemic?
Oh my gosh. I mean, first and foremost, I truly believe it's a weapon of mass destruction. I don't think that it got here on accident, but that's a whole
other thing. Yeah. Down a rabbit hole.
And it's just so sad and so terrifying. And like, it's like there's almost nothing that we can do. Have you watched Painkiller on Netflix?
I watched it, but I need to watch it again. I feel like, because people keep bringing it up.
Yeah. So I lived that oxy epidemic on the East Coast. That was my prime like time and getting, and so, you know, Purdue Pharma, like they make Narcan. So they made oxy, this whole, you know, and then they make Narcan.
That's what
They make buprenorphine.
That's what Alfred, we were literally talking about this yesterday. That, okay, keep going.
Yeah. So it's like, so I just bring that up because it's like, no matter what we do on this side to try to do as much prevention, as much education, as much, you know, just trying to save people.
Yeah.
It's like
We're up against
a monster.
And it's so insane. Like if we could actually see what's going on, we'd all be up in arms, disgusted. It'd probably start a civil war. I mean, this is complete like ludicrousy that this is all about money and power. And like we're wiping out a whole generation, really, you know, it's like you see some of these areas. We were out doing me and Tyson Sullivan were out doing a fentanyl awareness day the other day, and we're downtown Huntington Beach, just going around talking to people, asking them questions, seeing what they know about it and not. And somebody had brought up Fentanyl Island. Have you heard about this place?
No.
It's out in, what was it, like Oakland area? We have it on our video. And there's like these pockets where it's like you would think this is on the other side of the world. And it's right here, like under our noses, where it's just grips of people and like kids, you know, these aren't, it's, yeah, I could, this is like a whole, you could do a whole podcast just on this
so passionate
topic.
about it.
Yeah.
You know, I watch TikToks on the, you know, the San Francisco, those
exactly.
San Francisco. It's just,
it's nuts.
First Street in Santa Ana.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, so Philadelphia. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. Kensington, that whole, yeah. We're going out next Wednesday, the 22nd, to do our first like charitable event where we're going to go out and educate people on Narcan and train them. And we're going to go to Santa Ana. That's going to be our first stop because, yeah, there's so many kids out there. And most of them, it seems like when you go and talk to them, they're not from here. You know, they came here, maybe a lot of them, I don't want to say all of them, but come out here to come to treatment, and then they get lost like up in the mix. So you own a treatment center?
I don't own it.
Okay, I thought you were an owner. Someone told me that you were like an owner.
No, I'm not an owner, but
well, you seem like one.
I have been there since day one.
That's a long time.
We've been open 7 years. Fresh start of California, and we, I started with the initial licensing, everything that keeps it going and keeps our doors open and able to help as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah.
You know,
what are you seeing the most there right now?
Well, fentanyl, alcohol's making a comeback, and still meth, you know. I have yet to see the fentanyl xylazine mix.
I've heard about this.
I've seen some stuff on TikTok.
Explain what that is to people out there listening.
So from what I know, that xylazine is some form of animal tranquilizer or something. They're mixing it with the fentanyl. But what's happening is that when people are shooting that up, it's eating their flesh away. So remember, what was that zombie?
That crocodile
thing? It's kind of like that. But yeah, it's just, and so it's Narcan resistant. The detox from that is like, you have to go to a hospital. It's like 30 days. Of course, insurance companies won't pay for that.
Yeah.
So.
And are people taking that knowing that they're taking that?
I think so.
See, that I have a hard time wrapping my head around that too. You know, it's like this new day and age of, well, this might kill me, but I'm going to do it. Like it's Russian roulette every single time now. Yeah.
It's wild. You know, and I'm sure I know you've met people that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times overdosed, and it doesn't affect them.
Right.
Like it's like almost bragging rights.
Yeah.
You know, which I think deep down inside isn't true. I think something shuts off in your brain when you're so far gone in your addiction. Like you literally flip a switch, because in recovery, that switch does flip back on and you do start to care. The problem is that it takes time, and there's like people have a really hard time putting in that time and being patient with themselves and allowing their literally their brains to heal. You know, when somebody comes in and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. It's been 2 weeks. I feel great. I'm like, physically you feel great.
Yeah.
But let me draw you a little picture of what is actually happening with your brain. And I have this little picture I draw of like the little dopamine cells, and like we go through this whole cartoon thing because I'm like, you can't see this and you don't know this is happening, but you have zero impulse control at this point. Like physically, sure, you probably feel better than you ever have. You've eaten, like it's all good, but your brain needs to heal or you're going to keep continuing that same process.
Yeah. And from your experience, what does that time frame usually look like for people? I know it varies, but
yeah, it varies. I mean, I think it's really important if somebody is going to treatment and is serious about it, like they stay in residential for 30 days. That is your bubble. That is your opportunity
to just chill. Yeah.
Get well.
Yep.
Don't worry about your phone. Don't worry about your girlfriend. Don't worry about, you know, like take that opportunity to heal yourself and then pick a program. I think, I mean, you know, anywhere from 6 to 9 months. That first year, first year is you're just like, oh.
Yeah. That was me for sure. Yeah. Man, yeah, it seemed like it took over a year. I mean, the first year I was clearing out those cobwebs, you know, that the TV, that sound, that was like my head. And just that long-term, like coming off Xanax and stuff for me, you know, a lot of prescription medications. It just took so long. So yeah, give yourself a year. Yeah, I agree. If you can, you know, that's our suggestion. So you're sober.
I am sober.
How long you been sober for?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
When's your sobriety date?
October 4th, 2015.
Okay. So you're coming up on 8.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you get sober locally?
Yeah. Yeah. This is my second attempt. I did have a few years. So I first tried to get sober in 2010.
Okay.
I did get a few years before I relapsed. And then when I got sober this time, it was one of those it was a very different experience than the first time. The first time I got sober, I was coming out of prison. I had no other options. And even though I tried to create more options, they just weren't, they were gone. So I went to a women and children's program in Bellflower called Angel Step 2. And I was pregnant at the time. I had a 2-year-old with me. And and that program taught me how to live like a normal human being and not a savage. And then this time, it was a very different time in my life after, you know, I had stuff. I had a home, a car, and a job. And, you know, those kids were older. And so I went to my sponsor at the time's house and just detoxed in her spare room and went to an IOP program. It was suggested that I go to residential, but I was like, no way. In my mind. You know, so the people in my life gave me an opportunity to like, okay, then do it. Here's a sponsor. They lined it up for me. Here's an IOP. Here's a sponsor. You show up, you be accountable, and you do this. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Whatever you want me to do. Yeah. So what started you down the path of taking drugs? What was going on in your life? How old were you?
Yeah, it was young. It was early. It was, I think I took my first drink at the age of 14. Okay. That was fantastic. Oh, right. Sorry.
We're turning the air on, everybody.
Getting a little toasty. Yeah. I loved it. It was great. Yeah. It was just a crazy experience.
What made you start doing that at 14? Like, were you just hanging out with your friends and it was the thing to do? Yeah.
I was like, let's drink this disgusting vodka. Yeah. Straight.
Yeah.
You know, it was, and this lines up my life experience with like everything in my life. It's like go big or go home. Like, so, you know, those gallon bottles of vodka that is like cheap ass vodka. Oof. So my parents were gross. So gross. I lived in New Hampshire. Okay. I lived so far up in New Hampshire that Canada was only 20 minutes away. Okay. And we drank this vodka. It was the middle of winter, me and whoever was at my house. And I decided to get on the snowmobiles and like go snowmobiling.
Because why not?
Because why not? I don't think I had boots on or any appropriate gear. It's the middle of the night. Well, if you know anything about snowmobiles or dirt bikes, with snowmobiles, you have to pull the choke up, start it, put the choke down so you don't flood the machine. So
Okay.
I never put the choke down. The machine died in the middle of the trail.
Oh, shit.
And my friends took off.
Oh, my God.
I hiked my way back home in the middle of the night.
And you didn't freeze, thank
I'm
God.
sure I was cold.
You must have
but,
been, you must have been cold. No hypothermia, though.
Yeah. So yeah, and the next day, you know, the like the game warden, like, because they're registered and stuff, he came up to the house and he was like, hey, you know, your snowmobile's in the middle of the trail. I'm like, yeah, sorry. So that, I couldn't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
You know? And so as time progressed, like, I was like, okay, now I want to smoke weed, you know? And so I smoked weed.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then, you know, so drank and smoked weed whenever I could.
Were you numbing anything out in your life, or was it just like, oh, I'm just having a good time with my friends, I just like the way this feels, and wasn't really recognizing what was going on?
I'm sure yeah, there was some numbing there. Like, so I have a wonderful mother, but I didn't grow up with a mother. My biological mother left when I was 2. So my dad and her met out here in California. He was a young Marine, 20-year-old Marine, met my mother, knocked her up. The story is that she was going to have an abortion. He stopped her at the abortion, like, don't do it.
Right.
Brought her back to Massachusetts and they had me. Didn't work out. She was like, peace, I'm out, you know? My dad, God bless him, he's a kid.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Early
a kid.
20s.
Yeah. And so he did the best he could, but he, you know, he was living his life and that affected me. And I know this now.
Right.
Back then I couldn't figure it out. So there was, you know, here's the girlfriend, she's going to be your mom. Girlfriend leaves. Here's another one, she's going to be your mom, you know? And I started feeling like it was like my fault that these people were leaving. Like I was the burden. And I was with my grandparents a lot. Oh, amazing human beings. They're passed away. But, you know, it wasn't a terrible, like I had fun. It was, but the emotional need of a parent wasn't there, until my dad met my mom. Hi mom, her name's Karen.
Hi Karen.
She came into my life when they were 8 and, when I was 8 and then they were together not very long, like 4 years. They got married, weren't married very long. My dad's a playa, so he, you know, can't be faithful. Love you, Dad, but, and you know, they split up, and that I think that I was about 12, and that or 10 or in that range. It's very blurry. So that was very traumatizing because I couldn't see her. They were very angry with each other.
Yeah, so this was a good escape for you. Yeah. So you started smoking weed.
Drinking whenever I could. Started acting out, started being a real dickhead. And were
you like a mean girl, or were you just more rebellious?
Just rebellious. I wasn't mean to people. Defiant.
Yeah.
Running away, causing problems, suspended, like telling teachers to go F themselves, you know, getting kicked off the school bus.
Yeah. Those things. I was the same way, you know, when I was young. Same sort of story. I started drinking and smoking weed and all that at a very young age. And the teachers, like, they didn't know what to do with me, especially like you're younger than me. But back then it was like I had my desk in the principal's office for a long time, you know, and they want to put you on medication and do all these things. And it's hard, you know? So, yeah, I can relate to that a lot. Yeah. So what happened after that then?
It's a wild ride, man. I ended up like my dad and I got into it really bad and I got taken from the home. And it got weird because I was like, I'm free, but they put me in like this foster home and like I refused reunification. Like I didn't realize how angry I was with him then. Like I said, I've done a lot of work, so I can totally identify, but the emotion, but yeah, I was just like, no way, I'm not going back. And then that was like where the ball just started rolling. Like I stopped really going to school. So to the point where they removed me from that and put me in a group home. And then
So you weren't seeing your mom really at the time either?
no, she was trying and they wouldn't let me. And it was just like, and I was like, she's the only one I want to see. I don't want to see my dad. I don't want to go visits with my dad. It was very mean.
Yeah.
And finally, when they just told me, like, you don't have a say in this anymore, we're going to reunite
Reunite you, yeah.
I ran away. I took off. And my intention was to go to my mom's house. By this time she was living back in Massachusetts, where I'm originally from. And so I remember, like, I ran away. This is so crazy to think about. Like, I hitchhiked from like this 3-hour drive from where I was going.
Yeah.
Actually, my first bright idea was I'm going to go to this little beach town called Hampton Beach. I'm going to find this boy that I met the summer before because he got me high, and I'm going to go find him, and we're going to live happily ever after.
And you're what, 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so couldn't find him, tried. And then I was just like hitchhiking everywhere. I just remember just like hitching rides from people.
Wow. Thank God you didn't get, murdered.
I know.
Jesus.
I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
One guy, I ended up hitchhiking. I was like, hey, you got any weed? And he's like, no, but my brother does. We went back to his house, and like I ended up living with the guy for like 6 months.
Wow.
I didn't leave.
That's
Told him I was
crazy.
18.
And you weren't going to school, obviously. Like, how were you
No.
making money and stuff?
I ended up getting a job at
Okay.
Dunkin' Donuts. I was like, I gotta work, man. Gotta work. Got a job serving them donuts and coffee, and like
So you're getting a paycheck.
getting a paycheck. And then finally I told that guy, I was like, I'm gonna go find my mom. I'm gonna go, and so I showed up on her doorstep. I was like, hey, can I stay here? And she was
Yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah. And you're what now, 17?
16.
16.
Yeah. So, she hid me out, and I, worked. I worked 2 jobs. But I'm partying. I'm like partying. It's fun.
And does she know that you're partying?
Yeah, she knows, but she, she's just an amazing woman, and she just loved me. She just loves me, and no, I don't think, especially during that time. I mean, this is like late 90s, early 2000s. Like people didn't understand really.
No.
How
How could they? It was different.
yeah. Way different. I mean, yeah. So, I get my driver's license, I get pulled over. My name comes up in the missing and exploited children's database.
Oh, wow.
And they ship me back to New Hampshire.
No.
Yeah.
And to where?
No, they put me in jail, and then I had
Put you in jail?
They put me in jail, in a jail cell,
Okay.
and then a foster home, and then we went to court. And my dad just was like, at this point, he just threw his hands up. He's like, as long as I know she's safe, like, go live your life. So that's what I did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think that's like not the right way to do things? You know what I mean? Like, you're with your mom, right? Like, why wouldn't they have just assessed and let you stay there to ship you back and go through all that?
Yeah.
Did you go back to your mom's after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like we went to court, and the judge was like, because the judge, like, they knew. I told him, I go, if you put me back, I'm gonna run away again.
Yeah.
I just like didn't give a f, and so yeah, they were like, okay, just let her go, and that's when like I was like, I'm free. I used to tell everybody, I got emancipated. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I went back, and life was crazy but fun. It was just like I was spiraling out of control, but nobody knew it, and Oxy was in the picture very much so in my life, and that's when all that started. Just Oxy, Xanax, pills, drinking, night clubs, fake IDs, the whole whirlwind of all that. And then it started tanking really bad. My mom was like, you can't stay here. I was like, we would fight. I was so mean to her, and just that whole, that switch. Like,
yeah. You had anger problems, obviously. Sounds like.
Yeah. And when I am under the influence or in my addiction, it is like nothing matters. Nothing matters.
You're a totally different person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And she tried getting my dad involved like a year later, and we tried that. I mean, that was good because we were able to like hash it out and make amends and stuff, but it didn't work. And so in my mind, I was like, you know what's going to work? You know what's going to fix me? All you guys are just like dumb. Like, I'm going to find my real mom. And that's all I need in this world. Like, and so I went on this mission to find this woman and found her. And so that is why I am in California.
Wow. Tell us about that. How'd that happen?
So I have an older sister, and I had been in touch with her more over my growing up than I ever had my biological mom. Like, she had left at one point, lived with her dad and found me, and we had been in contact. So I knew her dad's name. So I kind of started there.
Yeah.
Was able to contact her, and then she was able to put me in touch with Catherine. And yeah, so I called Catherine and we started this phone relationship, and I was like, look, I need help. I need to get out of here. Like, I'm starting to use heroin now. Like, I need you, you know? And so she was like, okay. And she bought me a one-way ticket, and everybody was like, don't you think you should have a round trip ticket? And I was like, no, fuck you guys. I'm out of here, you know? And that's what I did. I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. I got on an airplane and I flew to Los Angeles, and you've just been having a conversation on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea who this woman was.
Yeah.
You know, and
you're how old? 18?
19. Yeah, it was 2002. Yeah. And so, yeah, I came out here, and needless to say, it got me off the drugs. I was able to get off drugs. I didn't realize that how much of an alcoholic I actually was, but that will come. That realization came later, but it wasn't what I expected.
What were you expecting in your mind?
I was expecting this warm embrace. I was expecting her to say, like, you know, all the things, like
things you needed,
the things I needed. I remember being a little girl and sitting on my back porch of my grandma's house and looking at the airplanes and just going, my mom's on that airplane. I know it. She's coming to get me. You know what I mean? So it was like this open, gaping wound in my soul.
Yeah.
That never was able to be filled. And I was looking for her to fill that. It didn't work out. You know, I don't want to say anything. Yeah. But she is not a well person. And that I lived there for about probably a month before I came home from work one day, and my stuff was on the front lawn. It was, you know, she informed me that it was the biggest mistake that she had ever made bringing me out here and to go. So I was too much pride and ego to call anybody for help. And I was like, fine, I'll make this work. I'm in California. Like, I'm going to make this work. Yeah. And so I did what I do. And I was like, you know, who can I stay with, you know, and just survival mode, you know, was able to rent rooms, was able to just make it work. I worked 3 jobs. I worked really hard. I drank every single day. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm not using drugs. This is an opportunity for me. What do I have back in Massachusetts anyway? You know, the thing about me is that, and I don't know if this comes from my childhood or wherever, but I cut everybody off. Yeah. Like
I'm the same way, you know, and I did the same thing. Like, when I left Canada, I left with a suitcase to come out here, didn't know anybody, and just literally like cut everybody off, you know? And I think that went on in my life until I did the work and worked on those unresolved issues, the trauma, you know, started to truly like understand who I am and why I am the way I am and how can I get better, you know? So I totally relate to that too. Yeah. So how long did that go on for?
That was a wild time. It was a good time. I ended up moving to Hollywood.
Okay. I lived in Hollywood too.
Yeah, I lived right off Sunset and Gower.
Okay.
Hung out in West Hollywood, you know, and just, that was a lot of fun. I went on the, okay. I don't know if I should share this.
We need to hear this.
Yeah. Okay. So, I am a person that doesn't think like, I don't know why my brain works this way, but Catherine and I had gotten a dog together at one point. By the way, our relationship was hot and on again, off again, on again, off again. Like, she would come and be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I would go back to her. It would be the same outcome. And we did this little tango with each other for months and months and months. Yeesh. And, at one point we got a dog together. She was wanted to like, we're going to get this dog together and this is going to show me that I want, to be a family. Anyway, so when it blew up in my face, I didn't have the dog. I was devastated. I freaking love dogs. I wanted this dog. At the time, Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne had a show called The Osbournes.
Uh-huh.
They had a lot of dogs.
Yeah, they did. a lot of dogs.
I wanted a dog from Sharon Osbourne.
Oh.
So I wrote her a letter.
Okay.
And, I wrote her a letter and I was like, hey, you have a lot of dogs. You're rich and famous. I don't have any dogs. This is my life story. I freaking laid it out to her in like a 4-page letter and I mailed it.
I love you for this. Even though it's kind of crazy. Yeah. That's amazing.
I don't know why. Anyway, well, producer showed up on my doorstep 2 months later with the letter in their hand. This is by now she's had her talk show. And he's like, Sharon Osbourne was just so inspired by you. And she wants you to be on her talk show.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So you went on.
I went on her talk show.
What? We need to find this.
I don't know how to find it. I'm scared to find it.
Have you watched it?
It's been like 20 years. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know where to look. But
we can find it.
Oh my gosh.
Make note, Emily.
She's amazing, by the way. She is the most wonderful woman. So the segment was she was going to be my mom for a day. And we did this really amazing interview with each other. I don't know what I said, but she took me to the Beverly Center and we went shopping. And then, during this, we're talking and she's like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? And I wish we could rewind and have her re-ask me that question. But at the time, I wanted to be a graphic designer, I guess. I don't know why. That was a passion of mine at that time. And so when I went and I did the segment 2 and she was like, oh, here's Lindsey, bring her out on the stage. She gave me a partial scholarship to the Art Institute of California down here in Costa Mesa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How cool.
It was really an amazing opportunity for a normal, sober person.
Okay. And here it is.
So
I mean, did she know, obviously, when you wrote this letter, you told her, right, that you were drinking and doing stuff and
probably
partying?
Left that part out.
Probably left, yeah. Okay.
So I packed everything in a little U-Haul and I hauled my ass down to Long Beach. And I went to school and my alcoholism really became an issue.
And did you know at this point, you had a major problem?
No.
It's total denial. You were just having a good time and yeah.
I'm this is affecting my life, but I didn't even know what alcoholism was. I didn't know that word alcoholic,
yeah. You weren't hanging out with what you knew as alcoholics, addicts. You weren't up in that lifestyle at this point. You
were was still at the bars. And, waking up wherever. Yeah. So I went through my first semester, everything started to kind of I was failing, and I was like, shit, man, I had to go through finals or midterms, whatever. And I couldn't get up. I was so hungover. I had alcohol poisoning, something. And my friend came to the house and he was like, you got to get up. You're going to fail out of school. And he pulled out a meth pipe. And he said, smoke this. And I did. Wow. And I passed those fucking finals.
And that's how it started.
Yeah, that's how that started, And so it wasn't before long that that very small window of oh, my grades are better. That was a very small window to where my entire life was now surrounded around people that used methamphetamines. I'm in student housing and I ended up getting kicked out of school. And then that began my 8-year homelessness.
So you were homeless for 8 years smoking meth.
Yeah. I mean, eventually I went back to opiates, but back and forth. But yeah.
Wow. And in those 8 years, I mean, were you just in acceptance that this is just the way my life is going to be? I mean, did you what was the thought process there throughout those 8 years? I mean,
it was different. I don't even know, you know, I mean, obviously it was there were times of just complete despair and what the hell? But then there was times where it was just living that lifestyle was a high, you know, going in and out of jail was exciting. Not the first time. First time I cried like a little baby. I begged the guy, I'm just drop me off please. The officer, like, nobody will know. You don't have to do this. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just,
You were in the lifestyle.
I was in a very sick and twisted lifestyle. And, you know, it ran its course on me and my life and my mental health and it was intense. I eventually went to prison.
Yeah. And how long did you go away for?
16 months.
16 months. And were you using in prison?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't. Honestly, I was terrified. I was so scared. I pretend to be super tough and like, I'm so tough, but prison scared the shit out of me. You know, that in itself was the only thing, you know, when I went into treatment, my parole officer, and it's funny because she was like, I was in parole in LA County and all I wanted to do was go back to Orange County. And I had gotten into a women and children's program in Orange County. And I called her and I'm like, cause she told me to get into a program. I'm like, I got into this program. She's like, where are you? I'm like, Costa Mesa. She's like, yeah, no, you need to show up at my office. I'll put you in a program. Like she was so hard on me.
Yeah.
And she did. And she put me in a program, got kicked out of that program and went back. And she was like, this is your last chance. Like she looked at me and she said, this is your last chance. If you can't stay and get your shit together, don't report to me. I will catch you when I catch you. And I was like, okay. Yes, ma'am. You know? And I went and I was so miserable. It took me a minute to I was so angry at everyone. Everybody bothered me. It was, you know, I was like, just like, F you to everybody. And then I remember one of the counselors, it was like 30 days in, and she was like, you know, Lindsey, you're a real asshole. And I was like, what?
How dare you?
Me? And she was like, yeah, you're an asshole. And I was like, okay. And then there was a silly situation. They want to move somebody in my room. You know, I had a complete meltdown over it, you know, and it was like this moment of clarity where I was like, oh, okay. Something inside me needs to shift and change.
Yeah.
You know, and it did. It did. I didn't do treatment well, you know, but like I never got passes. I'd always screwed up in some kind of way to where I wasn't allowed to go out, you know. Yeah. But I completed it, went to sober living, got my own place, and it was, you know, that was the start of my life back in 2010.
Yeah. You know? So I know a lot of women and men out there have struggled with like abandonment issues, right? Feeling like they're not worth it, you know, pushing people away, putting up those guards, you know, doing what we need to do to be a survivor, essentially being in that survival mode. What did you start doing to work on those unresolved issues?
We did stuff in treatment. I think it came down to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to therapists and I love therapy. I think it's great. But what really was a transformation for me was when I got honest with myself, and was able to allow somebody to help me and tell me things that I didn't want to hear, but things that needed to be said, and then help me to understand my character defects, because I didn't think I had any. You know?
Of course not.
And I think that was like really profound when I got to step 6, and like somebody told me that, you know, you're a liar, you're dishonest, you know, right now that's what you're doing, that these are your character traits, but you know, you guess what, you get to fix those things. You know, as far as the abandonment and all that stuff, I was able to do some amends with my dad. That was really cool.
Yeah. You guys have a good relationship now?
Yeah, I love that guy. He's a good guy. He's got a good woman in his life, and she doesn't need to be my mommy, so that's good.
Good. Yeah.
You know, so amends were really big, and then you know, understanding and knowing that it's constant work. Like I'm not cured.
Yeah.
I'm not a victim anymore. You know, the things that happened to me in my life, the abandonment and all that, that wasn't my fault. I think that was a huge, profound moment. Like it wasn't, guess what? It wasn't your fault. But what you do have responsibility on is if you're going to take that and use it as an excuse to treat others in a certain kind of way or drink and use over it.
So well said. Yeah. I mean, what do you say to girls out there that were, you know, that are the age you were when you started going down this road? You know, what would you have told your younger self?
First of all, you're worth it, and I love you. I love you so much, and I will love you until you love yourself, you know, and you can accomplish anything in this world. You know, that's what I would say.
Yeah. I think the amends too is so important. I didn't understand until I started doing them what I would get out of it, you know, and it was such a healing process. And then also getting in the mindset of understanding that our parents did the best that they could with what they were given, you know, because I feel like, and I'll speak for myself, that I looked at my parents that they were supposed to be these like perfect human beings and love me the way I wanted to be loved and treat me the way and have this certain lifestyle. And they're just doing the best they could. Yeah. You know, we have this generational trauma issues, family systems that goes back and back and back. And, you know, thankfully we were able to break the cycle, right, with our next generation. But yeah, like finding that space and having that acceptance of like, okay, you did the best you could with what you had.
Yeah.
And that was such a freeing moment for me getting to that, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now I can joke about it, you know, I just joke about it with my dad, you know, and it's just funny. I'm like, okay, you know, it's just acceptance of who he is as a human being. I love you.
Yeah.
You were a kid.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Jeez, you know, and you're a guy.
And I mean, my dad was the same way in a lot of ways, and he's passed. And I wasn't sober when a lot of this was going on and when he died. And I say that now that I've worked a program and understand things for what they are and what they were, like I have a better relationship with him now, right? Because I can accept and understand, you know, where he was at and what was going on in his life.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a good place for us to be in that space with everybody, you know, to meet people where they're at, not where we want them to be.
No, yeah, just love and accept everybody for who they are. And, you know, you just don't know, you know, what people are thinking, how they're feeling. But if we just come at them with love, no matter what, even if somebody's out there using and it's a family member and you're so frustrated, that anger is real, you know, and it's sad and it's heartbreaking because, you know, it's not just the addict, it's everybody around the addict too. There's a way to set up healthy boundaries with that person to where you're not walking away, giving up on them, but you're still loving them. And I think that is so important for people that are sober, people that are not. So everybody.
Yeah.
I try my best. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to just love everybody.
Yep. And so we should, and stay consistent in that space. What did you learn about yourself the most through going through the steps?
Well, I'm a completely different human being. So, you know, when I will say, you know, when I had those few years sober, I did not work a program. I didn't put the work into myself. And so although I didn't drink and use and I was able to build something on the outside, I was still very broken on the inside. So that woman, that girl is not who sits before you today. And I have learned so much. I've learned that I'm loved. I can be loved. I'm lovable. I've learned how to control my anger and my reactions and, you know, just everything, how to approach life in a way that doesn't have to be so hard, you know? And I've really, really, really have an amazing connection with my higher power. That has played such an impactful role. I came in here, not an atheist, not an agnostic, but just indifferent about that whole thing. And over the past 7 years, I've really been able to develop this amazing connection that just gets me through when all else fails, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you say to people that are newly sober and struggling with that? Because I know that's a big one.
Yeah.
With finding their higher power with God. What is it? What do I do? How do I get on my knees? This feels awkward. What do you suggest?
So when I'm working with people and they're having a hard time with it, I mean, the biggest thing is like, don't put so much thought into it. You know what I mean? Just relax and have a conversation with whatever, with whatever. Be able to take your thoughts and line them up with your heart, you know,
I love that.
and, you know, really start to just live through your heart, and, you'll get there. Don't put this label on what it needs to be, because it's been so many different things for me over the years to what it is now, and it could change and keep growing and evolving, and, enjoy that ride and that journey, because it's a journey of discovery and discovery within yourself also, you know.
Boom. We just need to take, Emily, that last 2 minutes and just plaster that everywhere, because that was perfectly said.
Thanks.
It really was. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't know a lot of this about you, so it was good getting to know you better. Even though I've known you for a long time, I didn't really know you. So thanks for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, people can find me at Fresh Start of California always.
There you go. Always, guys.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and yeah.
What's the full name on Instagram and Facebook?
I think it's Lindsey Lou.
Okay.
Lindsey Lulu.
Okay. Can you spell it out?
LINDSEYLOULOU.
Okay.
83.
If you're struggling, if you need help, Lindsey will be there.
I will.
Lead with your heart.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Happy Women's Wednesday, you guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.